Hello everyone, and welcome to another Pony and Wolf production video. I'm your host, visualbrony, and today we are reading the story Spike's Turn Teasing by Richard79. I was very intrigued by the short description of the story, which is why I chose it for today's reading, and I hope that you will enjoy it as much as I enjoyed at least the short description so far. I have not read the story, so full disclaimer here. You are discovering the story alongside with me. Also, please consider supporting Pony and Wolf Productions with the links down in the description, or by subscribing to the channel. There's a big red button. What are you doing if you're not subscribed yet? Even Blackjack knows that a big red button is there to be pressed. This is the only chapter. Spike had walked into the boutique with a quill and paper ready when Princess Twilight told him that Rarity needed him to take a letter for her. He'd caught her wearing the fire-heart ruby around her neck and talking to it. "What am I going to do with you, my dear Spiky Wikey?" she said out loud to herself, thinking no one was around. She let out a gasp at not hearing him opening the front door when she spotted Spike. She'd been lost in her thoughts about the fire ruby, of course. "Oh, I'm sorry, Rarity. Did I interrupt you?" Spike asked. He was older and bigger now. He was slightly taller than an average-sized adult pony now. He held his quill feather in his claws and was twirling it in front of her. Spiky, Rarity had started to back up from him, knowing she'd been caught. "Remember all those years you teased me with those eyes of yours? Bending me to your will?" Spike watched the quill moving around. He'd had her backed up against the wall. The quill reflected her sapphire eyes. "Yes." "I figured I'd pay you back," Spike replied and could hear the shake in her voice. Rarity gulped down some air. "You wouldn't dare, would you, darling?" she managed to say, feeling almost helpless. She'd been caught, and he knew it. Spike let the quill rest on the top of her chin. "I could have so much fun." Ideas started to bounce around in his head. Rarity watched a grin slide along those dragon lips of his. "Don't even think about asking what he thinks. Thinking." She felt the quill slide down her chin along the underside of her throat. It broke her thoughts. Her body shuddered in response. Spike paused just at the base of her throat. He lifted his other claw up and hooked it under the fire-heart ruby necklace. Her sapphire eyes had taken on a darker hue. "Why'd you put this on and invite me over?" Spike asked, knowing full well that he was in control. He could feel her swallow. When she didn't respond, she watched him lift up the quill and let it rest just below her right ear. "I like to wear it when you're not here," she blurted out, knowing how sensitive her ears were. "I see." His gaze lifted up to her ear, then back to her wide-eyed look. "I know my ear frills are a lot like Opal's whiskers. Very sensitive. I bet your ears are too, right? Why'd you invite me over?" "He wouldn't." Rarity sucked in a breath and she could feel the quill starting to move. She let out a little squeak that turned into a gasp, followed by a rambling of words. "Teasing you as of late has been driving me crazy." She felt the quill come away from her ear and took the opportunity to take in a quick breath. "You'd gotten so used to it, yet recently I've noticed a difference between us." "Really?" Spike lowered the quill to his side. "Yes, darling. You've become bolder in your approach to me. It got me thinking about you and us. It's why I invited you over here. If things went well, I was going to have you send a letter to Princess Twilight informing her that you wouldn't be back at Friendship Castle tonight." Spike felt his jaw drop to the floor. His heart was like a jackhammer in his chest now. "I thought I was in control here." Rarity felt herself shudder, still feeling the effect of the quill. "Oh, trust me, darling. You were." She used her unicorn magic to get hold of the quill in Spike's claw. You got me to let go of my fears and my feelings of being afraid to open up to you, darling. Spike watched a grin slide along her lips. I wonder how that'll work on you, darling. You wouldn't, would you, love? Spike realized what he said and noticed that Rarity's grin had stopped and her mouth had dropped open. I didn't even hesitate, he thought. She hadn't even used the quill. He wasn't about to take it back. It felt so right. Rarity still had the quill held in her magic. How long have you wanted to say that? Would you believe since day one? It was at first sight. He glanced down at the scroll he still held up in his claw. Should I send that letter? Rarity put the quill back in his claw again. Please do, my spiky wikey. Her sapphire eyes half closed. She could feel her heart beating faster. Oh, and dear. Yes? Spike noticed a smile on her face that he'd never seen before, and a deeper longing in her eyes. She walked up next to him and got right next to his ear frill. Her voice came out in a whisper, each word tickling his ear frill. I love you too. I'll be upstairs waiting on you. Don't be too long. Spike could see the steam coming out of his nostrils as he watched her walk off, adding a bit more sway to her walk. Glancing down, he realized that he'd already written a message without even looking. He rolled it up and used his dragonfire to send it to Princess Twilight. In a blink, he'd left a smoky form of himself standing on the bottom level of the boutique, while he'd already made it into Rarity's bedroom with the quill in his claw. Princess Twilight felt her Alicorn powers spark to life as a letter appeared in front of her in a puff of green smoke. She'd used her Alicorn magic to unroll it. Scanning it, she tilted her head. She was able to make out a few words. Spike, Rarity, Night, Bye. She let out a laugh. Well, I see Spike's plan worked along with Rarity's plan. How could I say no in helping them? Grinning, she added, have fun, you two. Author's note. I was right in the middle of writing an adult story about Rarity and Spike. This idea hit me, and I literally had to pause and write this. I wrote this in less than an hour. It was like a water faucet had turned on and the words flooded out of my fingertips. Hello and welcome back everyone to Comment Time on the Visual Pony, where I will remind you that you can support PonyWolf Productions through the links down in the description below. Every dollar helps is needed and very much appreciated, and now let's get into the meat of the story, because there's some stuff that I want to say here. Okay, so, I don't know if there is a saucy tag on femfiction, but if there is, this story definitely deserves one. It has MLP Fem, Romance, Comedy, Twilight, Rarity, and Spike as tags. Now, due to this, and by the way, I think it's rated for everyone. Let me have a look. Yep, rated for everyone. I would rate this teen. I would give it a teen rating, not everyone. Just saying. But this was actually written this year. On the 13th of March, so not too long ago from when I'm recording this. Holy smokes, guys. I mean, I can totally believe that the author was originally working on a Klopfic. Because, let's face it, this story's not far away from it. It really isn't. Okay? I just hope that it will just be PG enough to, just skirt by YouTube's rules, because I know a lot of fellow narrators have actually been struck and deleted, had their channels suspended because of their content. Like, I had a Klop channel at some point, which also got completely removed. Even so, I'm 100% certain that I did not break any guidelines, but okay. So, let me know what you think about this story. I kinda enjoyed it, to be honest. You can see that it's a rush job. Okay, you definitely see it. But I still like it. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony, and I hope that this video finds you well in body and mind.